And that was Wham with Everything She Wants. It is 27 minute oor 1 en ek sit hier so met Ingrid Alice Irsigler. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's right.
Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
And it's so weird because we have Martez online because she's hurt her back. Hello, Martez.
Hello. Hi, ladies. How you doing?
Hi, doing so well. So excited to be here. It's so exciting.
So,
it's just so fabulous to have you there. I'm just sorry I'm not there in person.
are you going to introduce Ingrid or you're going to take it
Yes,
away? Yes.
I absolutely can. So to all the listeners out there, as Loui has said, we are chatting to Ingrid Alice Irsigler. She is a high-end creative fashion and portrait photographer and director from South Africa. Ingrid has literally traveled the world with her incredible photography, and there's one thing that I think is so amazing. She describes her, I would say, photography as adventures in Dustyland fairy tales where couture meets the lens. And I just think that is such an apt description.
I love that.
Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to start. Sorry, it's so weird not having you here and just over the phone. So where did it all start, Ingrid?
Well, very, very, very long time ago in a paint shop. No. My photography started when I was in my 30s. I was originally a creative director, so I was doing creative director stuff, which encountered like lots of offices and computers and all of those sort of things. And I was extremely fortunate to work with some incredible companies through that time. But one day I found myself on a fashion shoot and I saw the photographer, and this guy was amazing. He was like running around. He was on ladders. I was like, this is the coolest job in the entire world. This is a job that I want. So anyway, I was like, who doesn't want to spend the entire day outside on ladders? But to cycle back just one step before that, I think the seed had been planted in my head probably in my 20s at Design in Durban, when I used to go every single year, and there was this incredible photographer called Kota Bolofo, and I sat there and I watched him, and I was just, I think in my heart, photography was always there. My dad used to be a photographer as well, so it was one of his hobbies, and he always used to go around with this Polaroid camera. So from a very young age, I used to steal this little kind of Instamatic camera of his, and I would run around and basically use up all of his film and drive him completely mad. So I think that if I really cycle back, photography's always been there with me. It was just not kind of how I was making a living or how I was really interacting with the world, because I was involved with web and being a creative director and all of those sort of things. But I've always had a camera by my side. So when it did sort of come to the opportunity one merry day in Boracay, I think it was, where I was thinking to myself, now, what am I going to do next? I decided to go and take a few night classes in photography. And my initial idea was to shoot interiors and food, which I must be honest, to this day, I'm not particularly good at shooting interiors or food, but at the time...
I can't imagine you bad
I took interior and architectural photographers I have the greatest respect for, because they're like, I swear they're very OCD. It's like, I don't understand how they do that. It makes no sense to me. I'm like, how do you set up all of those shots? My style is a little bit more freestyle, and it's a bit more... sort of Indiana Jane vibes, I would say, which is potentially not what you need when you're busy shooting an enormous mansion, that has a lot of straight lines. It's like, and 500 photographs that make up one. So no to interiors.
But I must
that's
say,
how it started.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, but what I actually want to say is I just love this Wonderland approach of yours. What started that?
Well, I was just actually saying, in the studio here, my name is Ingrid Alice Brigitte Irsigler. So obviously I was named after Ingrid Bergman, which is obviously the actress, and then Alice in Wonderland, which I guess was just that. But as a child, I was completely sort of taken in by just general fairy stories and things like Enid Blyton, and I've always been a big reader. I think I was reading Shakespeare when I was like 8 or 9. It was very odd. So I mean, Midsummer Night's Dream and whatever. I've just always been very very in my head, I think is probably the word. Very much in my head, very much in books, very much in poetry, very much even in film, etc., etc. So for me, it was all about creating, these incredible environments, or creating alternate worlds, almost like taking the book, taking those images and sort of taking them out of my head and putting them, into the real world, into the real space. I'm not very good at drawing, so that was out. It's like, oh, no. Unless it's the one where you splatter everything. I don't know, maybe.
I've had fun with that, actually.
It's like Pollock. It's like Ingrid Pollock. Here we go. It's like, no problem. We'll just throw the paint all over the place. How hard can it be? Okay. I mean, yeah. So, So basically, for me, everything is very much about an alternative reality, just creating very beautiful environments. I know that obviously we all have different genres as photographers, but for me, it's very much about storytelling. It's very much about, I almost create fashion essays in a way, because at the end of a shoot, well, generally a normal shoot would be a normal shoot. I say normal would be like sort of 10 to 12 images, and here I have around about 80. So it really does becomes almost these very big fashion editorial essays kind of environments with storytelling. So you'll also notice in my work there's a lot of people a lot of the time. I really enjoy that. I sometimes have hundreds and hundreds of people on set, so it's like the more people I can bring, the better. So that's quite an unusual thing as well. There's a couple of big brands, I think, obviously Dolce, etc., are kind of that sort of thought process, but it's very much in terms of I enjoy storytelling. So it's caricatures, it's who you want to be. It's to be able to look at Route 66 and want to be that amazing model, and she's in the car and she's in a black leather, and you just think like, oh my goodness, I want to be there. I want to be in that story. That's where I want to be today. I want to be off to find the Indiana Jane sort of vibes.
But you do, it's a very distinctive signature that you have. And when you say that, like, honestly, the first time I saw your work, and every time I see your work, I feel that way. You literally want to climb into that photo because it feels,
absolutely,
it looks so real. It really is like this.
It's like a moment. It's like a moment in time. It's like you want to be friends with them. You want to be in that. You want to be in the boat, or you want to be. You want to. That's what I aim. That's what I aim to do is to create these, as I say, these quite grand storytell. I mean, I love Buzz Luhrmann, so I think it's probably it's definitely, and obviously Annie Leibovitz and all of those, and Tim Walker, and I think that's obviously my influences from that perspective, where I just really love storytelling, and I love an alternate reality to a real one. The films that I love, Big Fish, I love the fact that they've taken the film and created this kind of weird alternate sort of environment, and I think that's what I try and do with my photography. I try.
Well, you must certainly getting it right.
I don't know. One day maybe I'll go through my real phase, and it'll be lots of real people everywhere. I don't know.
But you've got you're very passionate about taking Africa to the world.
Yes. So I love what we do.
You've got you want to take creative talent and introduce them to the world. Well, how did that start?
So basically, I had this theory that I think we have the most incredible designers in South Africa. Of course we do. But I sometimes think what happens along the line is it's quite difficult to compete with the likes of a Chanel, because if you think about it, a Chanel photo shoot, firstly, you're dealing with photographers who are the best in the world that are, earning 100,000, 250,000 euro a day. That's just where they begin. You've got these huge big sets, you've got these incredible scapes, So they're being shot and presented in such a high-end, high-fashion way. It's quite tricky to, it's quite tricky for us to compete with that. So my whole sort of philosophy when I came across some of the clients that I work with, which is African Fashion International, who are one of my most favorite clients, as well as Fashion Without Borders in Botswana, was to take our designers and to take our talent and take our models and take everything that we do and present it in that way, in an African way. So obviously with African aesthetics, with the African landscape, etc., but creating sort of an environment that is kind of like shooting these garments on an international level or production of work. So that was really my aim. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it right, but fortunately we've been quite lucky. So yeah, thank you, Sky News.
That is amazing.
Thank goodness. Otherwise,
that really is fantastic. And you've really, you've had some phenomenal achievements. It's actually quite
Thank you so much. It's very kind. I have an incredible team. There is no one man in what I do. I work with incredible people. I am extremely blessed. We have very small teams. I work very differently to just pretty much everybody out there, because I think when I came into photography, I had a very different mindset. And I think if you don't know what is right and wrong, I think that's a good thing, actually, because you're not restricted by boundaries of initial concepts and initial thought process, etc. You can kind of go into something with a real fresh take on it and say, okay, you know what? It's actually not the best idea maybe to have 80 people on set. Maybe we just have a very small set. We do much better work. Fine, we might work harder or work longer hours or whatever the situation may be. But you're just containing the environment so much better, and you're controlling it so much better. And so that I think is really, really, really important. And I think obviously coming from being a creative director, that is really just led my work. So it's kind of like usually what you would have maybe is a photographer and a creative director working together. But as I lead the projects and I lead the creatives, especially on the work that's obviously done very well internationally, I think that is the difference. The difference is to have a correct creative vision. I can then work with my team. We can basically sit together. We brainstorm. We're very fortunate. Our clients give us free reign 99.999% of the time. They trust us implicitly. They don't get involved with their creative. And I think that is key to a successful project, because, we know our jobs. We're very good at our jobs. So, if we're allowed to do our jobs to the best of our ability, that is when you get work that is seen internationally and is seen to break boundaries. I mean, as I say, I think the one African Fashion International project has just been everywhere. But I mean, you can say that about so many of the projects, be it, I work with a top aviation company as well, United Aviation Group. They also leave us alone to let us do whatever, so that's fine. Very lucky, blessed.
Wonderful. I think, as a creative, that really is fantastic when a client gives you such freedom to work. But, it also comes down to trust. And,
absolutely.
It's pretty obvious in the kind of work that you deliver.
100%. And relationships.
And also,
for sure.
Yes. And another thing I just want to say is actually, if you look at the current landscape, the fact that you are a small team is fantastic. I mean, who would have thought that would actually be something that could most certainly allow you to continue with the work that you do, considering the effect that, everything has had on our industry of late.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I've kind of been trying to sort of work in a different way, especially with some of the old processes that are still in place in our industry. And it is a bit of a challenge, because I think, we come along and we're a renegade bunch. And we're all kind of, the same tribe of crazy people. So, for us to wake up at 3:00 in the morning and still be shooting at, finishing off at 12 that night, and we've shot 3 stories and, hundreds of images, etc. That's you've got to have a certain kind of mindset to be able to kind of work in those parameters, which are a little bit more, as I say, a bit more renegade-y, a little bit more kind of like, okay, you know, we're going to go out there and we're just going to produce some incredible stuff, and as opposed to, okay, let's go and sit on set with like 100 people and, you know, we're going to shoot between these hours, etc., etc. So I think that obviously client dependent, especially in advertising, it's very different. Very, very, very different in advertising. And then obviously, you know, I generally, when I work on advertising, it's more of a role as a photographer, and that's kind of my lane and I stay in it. But the work we're talking about today is obviously the work where I'm the creative director and I'm running the projects. So with that, as I say, my team are absolutely incredible, and they're not scared of anything. You can message them at like 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes when it's like, oh my gosh, I've had an idea. I don't do that anymore, though. I'm much better. But don't open the lines.
Set those boundaries.
No, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. It's like the board lights up, and it's like almost my stylist is the car, and it's like, well, actually, about last week. So,
guys, oh, brilliant! But I know, Loui, you're burning to ask another question.
I am.
Something I wanted to say. Yeah, I just want to say something quickly in that, you know, you're so down to earth, Ingrid. And, you know, I started talking about your achievements and we just kind of sidestepped all of that and started talking about other things. So I have to say
I'm a butterfly.
that Ingrid was the first South African photographer interviewed for French magazine Fibit.
Yes.
Tell us, what was that like?
Yo, that was amazing. I was extremely fortunate. There is a to take one step back. There's this creative community through Adobe called Beyonce. So we use that as kind of like a funnel to the world. It's kind of like the Instagram for the creative community. And our work got picked up there by this incredible publication called the Bloggrapher, who is in the US, and that was definitely the start of our journey overseas. They're extremely respected in terms of the community, and their reach is incredible. So that was kind of like the first step, and then from there, things kind of like kind of branched off like cherry from cherry, but I think it's such a funny thing when you have these incredible things happen, because you always think to yourself like, oh my gosh, that's so incredible. Like, is this ever going to happen to me again? And then like something else amazing happens, and then you're like, yo, this is just so amazing. Is this ever going to happen to me again? So Pibits was really important and integral to my career, because being, you know, very, very, very much in the industry with regards to the brands. So obviously, and I'm talking like the big fashion houses, like the really, really, really big fashion houses. So that is where we want our work to be. We want to be sitting next door to Gucci and Chanel and Dolce & Gabbana, because that's who we want to be. Our South African designers are absolutely incredible. You know, that's where we want to be sitting next to in the playing field. I mean, let's be honest, why wouldn't we? And then that was just such a moment for me. And then through Fibit, I was very lucky to have our work, 4 of my images actually, picked up by Pantone. And Pantone, of course, is the everything of everything with color. So our work was presented in Seoul. And we even inspired a new Pantone color called Afro Black, which was amazing. And I thought it was very funny, because I'm known as the queen of colors. So I kind of thought maybe I would have like inspire a new pink, but no. So, I was like, the universe is being very funny right about now.
That is so funny.
I was like, what is going on? So yeah, but Fibits was amazing. It was such a moment. It really was. I was so grateful.
Well, I hate to be breaking this up, but we have to take a little song break quickly. And this is because you love the Killers, so this is for you.
Yay! My favorite.
Okay, here's the Killers.
Thank you.
The Killers, Human. It is 10 to 2, and Martez, and my guest today is Ingrid Alice Irsigler.
Hi.
Hello, welcome back. So,
Hello.
Martez. I want to know, like, we know about the creative, and I'm sure we'll get back to that. But who's Ingrid at home?
Ingrid at home. Ingrid is a...
Because you recently moved down to Cape Town, so
Yes.
you're a Joburg girl.
Yes, originally a Joburg girl. I am a obsessive home renovator. I always love to get like an old house or a broken down house and redo it. Someone once called me the agent of change. I think that's like I am a little bit like that. So yes, I am very much a dog girl and a cat person or horse girl. I'm up first thing in the morning riding my horse into Kai, then I'm taking the dogs for a walk, and if I'm not shooting, my team know that I'm trying for a little bit more of a work-life balance, so they know if we're not shooting that I'll be online after I've done the horse and the dogs and whatever, which has actually been quite good for me because I can be a little bit sort of OCD with work and stuff. So it's been really good to find a better balance in Cape Town, which I definitely do have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have. Yeah.
And do you switch off then, or do you ride with your horse and it's like, oh, I could do that, or do you switch off?
I think my riding is very much a switchy offy phase. I think that's something which is a very much always been, in my head. It's probably my most favorite time in the world. What I find is when I'm very active, I have to move. So for me, definitely when I'm processing or thinking about a new project or something, the first thing I'll do is I'll go out to the alpha and I'll walk with the dogs or I'll run with them or whatever the situation is, and that's when I actually will really work through my ideas and work through all my stories. It'll either be on the Alphen or it'll be at 3:00 in the morning when the world is dark. I'm terrible. I love the night.
I know. Don't you feel like
absolute
I think
night owl?
Most creative people are.
I love the night
during the night.
It's my favorite time. Which is not great as well, I suppose, but it's my favorite time to work. It's my favorite time to process. Like, I love it when the world is quiet and dark and it's just you and your computer and stuff. So that's when I'm most active. I'm a terrible morning person.
Oh, same.
Ask my team.
But free. It's I've also found it's amazing how much more you get done in the early hours of the morning
no,
as opposed to if you. Not you.
Not me. They literally have to like feed me double espresso after double espresso. When I see that 4 a.m. call time, I'm like, no.
So my work process the best is like from midnight through to like 4:00 in the morning. That is like best. Where I find I'm like the best. But then I'll be finished for the next few days.
It's very hard. It's very hard to realign that. I think when I left Joburg, I was in total constant jet lag phase. It was like I didn't know if it was morning or night or what was happening. Now I'm like, now I'm better now. Yeah,
good.
Not morning person. No. So I'm very much a home renovator. I am super, as I say, I can be like super chilled as well. So I love film. I can literally sit on the couch and be like totally and utterly like the opposite of kind of my very high energy self. I think it's a Libra. I suppose it's half and half. It's up and down. We've got to have balance. And if I'm like really tired or something, I'm very happy to sit in front of Netflix for like, I don't know, like a whole weekend if I need catching up with the dogs and whatever. So, very much relaxed, very much chilled. As I say, I love a beautiful home. So recently I've been renovating my 140-year-old house, which I absolutely love. So that's a bit of a long-term project. But I recently grew a garden, which I'm very excited about because I've never had a garden before, and I've been growing. Tell
us about the garden because
the garden has been so good for me because I'm not a patient person. Like, I am not patient. I don't believe in this delayed gratification story. What is this? I want everything to happen now, tomorrow, yesterday, potentially. So I think gardening has been really good for me because it's definitely about kind of learning a little bit of patience and a little bit of consistency in terms of like a long-term goal. So it's been really good for me. It's been good for my soul to to kind of, be in that space of, growing things. And I think it's hysterical whenever recently I've been growing tomatoes on the tomato tree, which sounds ridiculous, but for me, this is basically like winning an Oscar. It pretty much has the same significance, because it's like I never thought I'd ever do something like that. So
Cape Town does that to you. Cape Town does that to you.
I think it's good. I think it's as I say, it's really good. I mean, my I suppose side projects or hustles or whatever you want to call them is always like redesigning houses and homes and spaces, and I love a beautiful interior, and I love taking houses that need a little bit of love and turning them around and making them beautiful again. This one I think I'm growing a little bit too fond of, though, because I don't think I'm ever going to sell this one, but anyway, we'll see. If it's meant to be, it'll stay with us. It's at the moment it's very pink. There's lots of. I went from a white beach house to changing everything to like pink. So I've got lots of like pink velvet everywhere, and I mean it's quite ridiculous.
Oh, wow! Sounds fabulous. The Mount Nelson comes to mind.
It's super fun. I was like very much Soho House vibes. It's got that sort of So it's been really interesting. But I'm very, very relaxed. I'm top knot girl with the horsey girl, like very much flower child. Rock and roll kind of. I'd like to say that I'm sort of flancing around in my Manolos, but no, I do have Manolos though, but I just don't flance around in them at home. I use those when I go out. Then I have my Manolos.
Oh. So now I'm going to get back to some more achievements here, and I've really put myself in a situation because I've chosen the one that's got the most interesting names. So hopefully I can pronounce everything
my
correctly.
Goodness.
I'm looking here at that you were selected as one of 9 photographers chosen by the world-renowned Art and Design and History Museum.
Okay, one of 9. One of 9 creatives. So I'm the only person who's representing photography in that.
Oh wow!
Yes, yeah, in that little amazing bunch of project. The Schloss, I can't even pronounce it, and I'm supposed to be German.
Schleswig Holstein in Schloss Gottorp.
Okay, I'm just going to sit this one out. I'm struggling with Ingrid's surname.
Oh my gosh!
I'm leaving this for you girls.
My uncle is crying right about now. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, oh my gosh, really? The other day was like, it's not too late to learn German and go and live in Germany. I was like, oh gosh, okay, uncle. You're right. There's still time. So that was really it's actually an amazing story. It's a bizarre story actually, because I had a feature last year. I think it was last year in a design magazine called Page, which is a German magazine, which is a very it's a very high esteem industry kind of world renowned sort of creative magazine. So my dad was German, so obviously that was really touched my heart, and I was like, that's really exciting because coming from my dad died when I was 5, so he was still very instrumental in my life just in those 5 years. So it was very much a heart article, and I was so unbelievably grateful for it. And then from that, one of the curators picked up my work, or our work, because it's not my work, it's our work, and they basically approached me last year with this project. It's a humanitarian project where basically they asked 9 creatives around the world within their industry. So from architecture to graphic design to product design, we all had to come together and create an image based on a herb. Mine was thyme. So I had the Garden of Thyme or something. I don't know, something like that. So basically we had to create an image for this project, and it's going to be on show in May this year and they're building this incredible exhibition for it. And basically the gallery does, I think, on average 11 to 12,000 people a day that's going to be going through there. And it's going to be at a number of other galleries around the world, which is also very exciting. But in a very bizarre twist of fate, it actually turns out that my father's family, my grandmother came from that area. And because obviously I had a different surname, they were the Hunsons. And when I sort of mentioned this, I didn't even know, to be honest. But I ran into my cousin and I was like, I've got this amazing project. It's so exciting. And he's like, do you know you come from that area? I'm like, no, I did not know that. And anyway, then it's amazing. It turned out that my relatives were actually, or my dad was actually born in that part of the world. And so just a very, very, very amazing, heartfelt story. So I'm going to that because my aunt actually lives, she's living there now, close to the gallery. So I'm going to go in May. I'm very, very excited because I've never been. So I'm going to go find out a little bit about my dad. But it was honestly, I think, one of the most special projects that I've been involved with for a number of different reasons. And then I was very grateful for amazing people to come together. My good friend Sam Scarborough, who's one of the most incredible makeup artists around, Kim Chu, this incredible stylist, and Jean, who helped with all this amazing thing, all through my agency, Bird on a Wire, who helped work with this everything out. And then Annie's Wardrobe, who came to the party to give us those amazing clothes. So it was just an incredible project, and I'm deeply, deeply proud of. In fact, it's just been launched. Actually, it was launched on Friday, so I have to put it out on my socials. I haven't had a chance yet, so that's tomorrow. On the list for tomorrow. Yeah.
So it's the first. It's the first to Kaapstad Radio. I love that.
Thank you.
Yes, it is absolutely. We're launching it live in Kaapstad Radio. Yay! Yeah, so it's absolutely incredible. So. And it's one of those things. It's a very big project in terms of from a world environment. So lots of incredible people are involved, and I must say it's quite something to see your work, with nine other creatives in the world, and especially representing photography. I think it's something I'm very, very, very proud of. Very proud of.
I think it's going to be so spectacular when you're actually there.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm so excited. Yeah, so you see, it's all about intention. See, I think it was going into my whole gardening thing last year when I was like...
And now you did something with herbs.
Oh yeah, now exactly. Now we did a world-renowned project for herbs. Sounds about right. That's about me. Oh my goodness. This is why no one always takes my calls. On one hand, they're like, "Do we want to do this? This is amazing." On the other hand, they're like, "Oh gosh, are we going to go to Tibet today?" How many hot air balloons are involved?
Oh my gosh, I can imagine how much fun everyone must have on your shoot.
I know, can you imagine?
Yes, no, absolutely. Wow. I mean, we're as I say, we're very close in the team. I work with the best people in the world. I have this incredible producer who has one of my longtime best friends. I've known her since I was 12 years of age, actually. And our first project together, I think we built a pyramid in standard 4, standard 5. Her name's Philippa Rose Tite from Purple Raindrop. She's amazing. So she and I do a lot of, she does mainly the producing, etc., because I have many skills. One of them is I'm not the most, you need somebody to be organized. You need to make sure that the hot air balloons are all there at the same time and everything is, going along swimmingly well and contracts are in place and people are at the right place and whatever. So, I have many, many skills, but spelling is not one of them. And at times I'm just not the right person to do the organizing and the producing. No, we need someone for that.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people they underestimate actually how exhausting it is being a photographer, because you've got so much you need to concentrate on. So, of course, you need other people to run around and do the rest. Otherwise, oh my gosh, I mean, we women multitask, but I think that's asking a lot.
And recently on the shoots, we've been doing quite a lot of film as well. So I've been directing as well. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. And I work with an amazing film crew in Cape Town, but like they can be like very tricky with my time. They want like all my time. So I'm like, please, I have to go and shoot some stills now. They're like, why? Why do you need stills? I'm like, are you kidding? I'm like, is that a joke? I don't know. Anyway, we love them. They're all amazing. I'm very grateful to have them. They're all mad like me, so it's okay.
I mean, Martez, how's your time looking? You're okay? You don't have to go.
I'm fine. I mean, now that I can't walk basically, I don't need to fetch my daughter. Anton left home early and he's gone to fetch work. He left work early and he's gone to fetch her.
Oh, okay. Because we just have to go listen to Dua Lipa and then we'll be right back. Okay.
I'm levitating.
Dua Lipa se Levitating. Julle kuier saam met my en Martez en Ingrid Alice. Nou, jy sien naam
Just Ingrid Alice. Just Ingrid Alice. It's easier.
Net hier op Kaapstad Radio. Ek sê nou vir Ingrid, toe ons nou die liedjies speel. She's such a breath of fresh air. Like, honestly, like, wat ek sê, if everything else she doesn't want to do anymore, she can come and be a radio presenter.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
You must be careful. Careful with that, Ingrid, because that's how I started with Loui. So the minute she speaks that it happens, you're going to have to find more time.
Sending it out in the universe.
Well, there we go. It's good to have a backup.
Yeah.
So it's interesting times we live in. You never know.
Ingrid, who would you still love to work with?
Sure. Okay.
I mean, you've worked with everybody. Let's do that list.
So one of my most favorite parts of my job, to be honest with you, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I love sitting and making amazing stories and my Dusty Land fairy tales, etc. Like, I mean, how do you not love, the work that we do with that? But I love shooting portraits. I love capturing people. Like, that's something which I sort of got into through a magazine in Johannesburg and called The Bar with Legend. And we shot the most amazing people. And it was just such an inspiring, interesting part of the craft, because I think it's quite a challenge. It's one thing to go when you've got an idea in your head to go and make, whatever you want to do with hot air balloons and models and whatever. I mean, obviously it's a different story. But when you've got a person who is a celebrity or who is an industry, an icon of industry or something like that, who either doesn't enjoy the camera or doesn't like the camera or has been shot a lot of times in front of, and they sort of have their go-to poses and they have their go-to in sort of way they interact with a person. I think from a psychological perspective, I really enjoy portraiture. Like, it is just absolutely amazing. I mean, for me, Mark Salinger, the work that he does after Oscars, etc., those kind of sessions I find really interesting. And they just, from a psychological and energy exchange perspective, it's really interesting. I think, in my industry, I'm not 100% sure enough is spoken about things like psychology of taking pictures and cameras, and because there's obviously a lot of fun and games and whatever behind it, but there's a whole other sort of environment that's going on in terms of with gear and just how you work with someone and more about the energy connection that you have with another person. So Sylvester Choke he's just amazing. He's from DNA and his agency in Johannesburg. I mean, he's literally the top person in the whole of advertising in the entire, like, the world kind of thing. I mean, he's just unbelievable. And I had such an incredible set with him. And then afterwards, he sent me this incredible message to say that, these are his favorite images and he's never been shot like that before, and I captured something in him that he hadn't seen before. And for me, like, that really made my heart so happy. And to this day, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago when we did that shoot, I can't remember offhand, but you'll see he still uses my images a lot of the time on his Instagram, and when he's presenting himself after he's won another amazing award or something like that. So Jessica and Corsi, Mel Barlow was another one who's also very big in radio. She's just absolutely amazing. And when she met me, she was like, I don't like cameras. And I was like, okay. She's like, I don't want to have my photo taken. And she also sent me the most heartfelt message afterwards. And I think that for me, that is really really about capturing a person and capturing who they are. So the portraiture side of my business, I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite days. Minnie Dlamini, Jessica and Corsi. I feel bad now. I'm being shamed. Mafik I'm shameless name dropping here. Theo, oh my gosh, Theo is one of my most favorite people in the entire world. Like, just like face brag, hashtag. It's like, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, Theo from
we love it.
I mean, they're just absolutely incredible. I mean, Theo is one of the most incredible, people that we have in music. And he's just, he's an entrepreneur, he's a philanthropist, he's interesting, he's kind, he's soulful, he's brilliant. So, to be able to work with people like that in a portraiture type of environment, it's just makes my soul happy, to be honest with you. But again, it's a very different type of environment again that you're working in, as opposed to the branding and marketing work, etc. that we do, or the advertising work. But it's something that's very close to my heart. Like, it really is. When somebody phones me and asks me for a portraiture set, a sitting, I get very excited, and I'm like, okay, amazing. I think we did one on the weekend actually, with this amazing family and with horses and polo and whatever, and it was just such an amazing afternoon. So I think it's there's different, obviously there's different ideologies for the various different things, but portraiture, it's just one of my absolute favorite genres of photography, and I hope to grow that.
But I think that's also something that speaks volumes, though, about you as a photographer. Because I've always said, you get photographers and you get photographers. You get those that literally just, push the button, and it's all about, okay, here's the image, and then, they go and fix everything up in editing. Where, to me, you sound like, and that's obviously why your work is so exceptional, because you really read your subject, and it's almost like getting into their minds, into their souls. So I just love that. I mean, it's very rare to actually hear a photographer speak like that.
I think it's very much a connection phase in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say to up-and-coming photographers or up-and-coming creatives, like, you need to know your gear. That's like step one of anything. That's your job. Your job is to understand your lights. Your job is to understand, how to use your camera and your gear, etc. I mean, that's like, that needs to be like your basic entry level into coming into an industry, is you need to, learn whatever it is you need to learn. Nowadays with all these incredible different medias that we have, it's not even like you need the most expensive camera in the world or whatever the situation is. It's just that you need to understand your craft. Like, that is step one. Step two then is to learn about the creative side of taking a photograph and creating a campaign, because that is very different to anything else. It's like, what makes a photograph sticky? If you take into account, and I'm just talking Instagram, at 950 million images a day that are getting uploaded, how on earth do you stop that scroll? How on earth do you stand out amongst everybody else? That is the question that you have to really, 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 sit with and even think about. I mean, if you actually think about those numbers, you'll never take another photograph again, because you'll think to yourself, like, that's in one day. I mean, what chance do I have? I have zero chance. It's 1 out of 950 million. That's my chance of being seen by the right person. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous if you really like, if you actually put your mind to it, you'll go crazy. So so that's where I believe, as I say, storytelling, 100%. You need to have a strong story. Your brand needs to have a strong story. Whatever it is that you do, because obviously, I mean, our work is commercial. We are working for companies. We are working for companies that are growing their brands, etc., etc., etc. However it may be. be it from the fashion side of things or the aviation side of things, or, whatever the situation may be. It's all about, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's quantifiable. It's like, did the images do well? Has it improved the brand's image? Are they growing their bottom line? That's again going back into more for sort of the business side of things, which obviously I am very strong at. But I think it's something that that again needs to probably be discussed or maybe taught, I think, to a lot of creatives is business, because ultimately that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting booked for. We're getting booked to make this radio station, famous, or whatever it may be, in terms of like grow their reach, grow everything that you're doing. So you have to understand that market, you have to understand those people, and you have to understand their audience, and then come up with a campaign that will work accordingly, that will grab everybody's attention and be like, oh my gosh, I want to be those people doing whatever it is those people are doing. And I think that's obviously, why advertising is such an interesting world. But when it comes to psychology, once again, within that, you've still got the fact that now you have to go onto set. You have to deal with, obviously many different models. If it's me, it's like 500 people. See your people. It's like, what sometimes Annie Leibovitz, she does her like thing with like all her different pictures, and then they stitch them. And sometimes every now and again, they don't always stitch them up right. So it's quite fun. But no, we don't do that. We just like go in there. It's like none of that. Every now and again, though, I'm not going to lie, my amazing retoucher Kay has had to do something maybe with like a horse-like eye or something, but like, I mean, we don't talk about that. But sometimes horses can be very difficult to shoot. It's like, why, horse, why? It's like, I love horses, but they're impossible. It's like, can't they just learn and just stand there? So I think, again, it's very much about the psychology in terms of like how you're interacting with your talent and your model, and dealing with a very stressful day, because it is a very stressful day. I mean, I obviously make light of it because I love my job and whatever, but I mean, if you're dealing with a project that's a couple of million rand or whatever the situation is, I mean, the stress that is on your shoulders is enormous. I mean, it's not a straightforward thing, it's like, okay, they are using you because of, your name or whatever the work that you can produce, but I mean, the pressure is enormous. Fortunately, I work very well under pressure. I like pressure, so I don't mind that. But in fact, I fall apart a little bit if I don't have any pressure on me. I'm like, I'm so bored, I'm dying. But with that said, like, I mean, I do have like big match temperament for that environment, for that game. But you're still dealing with another person and another human being who's sitting in front of your camera, who's maybe tired. They've been up since 3 or 4. And I think that getting the psychological buy-in from the models, I mean, I can tell you straight off, one of my first projects that did very well internationally was A Midsummer Night's Dream with Jade in the boat. And I mean, we wouldn't have even had that story, but be it for the models, because we'd been pushing really hard and we'd been waking up early mornings. And that was just a bit of a random last-minute story that we sort of had. We had these beautiful 3 black dresses, and there were all these hydrangeas everywhere. And we were gonna cut for the day because we'd been up since 3. And the models came to us and they were like, no, actually, those 3 black dresses, we're wearing them. We're not, you're shooting us. I mean, it was like the most ridiculous. It was amazing because it won a New York Fashion and Beauty Award and it was all over the place. It was like, I thought it was a joke. I was like, this is a joke. Someone emailed me. I'm like, am I being pranked? I was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We won an award. What is happening? But again, like that only came into being from the point of view that we had, the talent were, because they were tired, and we were tired. We were second day of shooting. It had been hectic. It was a lot. And that sort of came out of, the talent coming to us and saying to us, like, no, we're having so much fun. We want to do this. We're creating incredible work. Let's carry on. Let's do this. And we did it. And we knocked it out in an hour or something. And then, we had this incredible story. So, and to this day, it's still one of my most favorite shoots. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like your first one is always like your heart in terms of that. But yeah, it was meant to be.
That's so special, amazing. I think we could talk forever, Loui.
I know. I'm just saying we're running out of time. Unfortunately, we can sit and talk forever, and you must definitely come back when Martez is here. I mean, between the two of you, I didn't get a word in, which I love. But I'm getting a little panicky. But anyway, is there anything else you wanted to cover, Martez?
No, I was actually just going to say, where can people get hold of you and do a little bit of a spiel as to where you can be reached?
Oh, sorry about that. There's got to be one technical glitch. Yes, I am on ingridalice.co.za on the interweb, and then I am on Ingrid Alice Photography on Instagram and Ingrid Alice Photography on Facebook, and then I also have Big City Life, which is on Facebook, which is just a fun little kind of side project of mine where we do discuss decor and beautiful things, and that's also Big City Life. And it's ingridalice.co.za. That's me.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. Thank you, Martez.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Please come back.
Come back. You're going to have to drag me out of here. What do you mean? You think I'm leaving now? That's fun.
Well, you can stay till 3. Or you can stay with Ati afterwards.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, Martez. Love you.
Okay, Yola.
Okay.
Love you too.
Get that
Stay
back
well.
better. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Let's go listen. Oh, thank you so much, Ingrid. Thank you. Let's go listen to Elton John's Don't Go Breaking My Heart.